We give thanks to you, O Lord our God, and the God of our fathers forever.
We're back. Hey, Cindy Mac. R2 has. Jovian Rose Lady. Thanks for the tweet. Coey. Jay. Nan Joy. Awesome. This is what you're listening to. The ancient prayer that's actually in Hebrew in this painting right there. 57, Nick 2. Gretel, Stephen. Well, my last scope was like swallowed into the black hole. I don't know what happened. Earlier today. War Boy. Thanks for the wee tweet.
For your miracles every day, for your acts of devotion in every generation. We give thanks to
Cindy, you can get this as a download too.
And our souls which are given into your hand.
I think.
Your compassions never fail.
Thanks for sharing. Okay, so there is the coolest solo section in this. You're going to hear it. But this is an ancient prayer that was prayed in the temple at the time of Yeshua. His disciples would have known this prayer and prayed this prayer. Check out Mark Shalansky on the keys, Sarah Caswell on violin. Rodriguin. Barba home.
Your compassions never fail.
Beautiful words.
Acts of your devotion never end.
Nice, Cindy. Sasha, Himalayan Man.
Compassions never fail.
Bobby, 85.
The acts of your devotion never
And it ends with this gorgeous longing and hope. Listen to the words.
We have hoped for you from long
The abstract one.
ago.
Again, that is the Siddur Project. And that is my exploration as a believer in Jesus of the Jewish prayer book. It's like this, and I said this in my earlier scope. I'm going to try to remember what I said. I did a really interesting scope. I thought, we'll see what happens. And then there was a lot. It was really powerful. And the weird thing is nobody could get in. And then the replay wouldn't work. And it showed that 29 minutes was recorded. But nobody could get into the scope. So I thought, you can't stop me. There's more than one way to skin a cat. I'm going to come back and do the same thing again, lover boy. And so I've started out that scope playing We Give Thanks to You, O Lord our God. That's the prayer is called Modim from this album. And I let you guys know that there is a painting. There's 2 paintings that go with this prayer. And actually, if you go to the SidurProject.com, you can get the music so that you can learn this stuff. And if you're a worship leader and you want some fresh music, there are word sheets and actual charts for all this music. And there's also paintings. You can order paintings. So there you have it. All right, we're going to do this thing again because I think there's something really, really important that I shared in the first scope that did not make it out to the world, and even to people who really, even to the people, the smaller group that is super faithful and they want to hear it. Everything was like nixed. So I'm back. I won't give up. Hey, Andrea. So in this earlier scope, I talked about how when we move out of a fear trigger, we are not wise. We are very unwise. It shuts us down, and all the other things that might be important about our situation that actually could support us and strengthen us just kind of are erased from the moment that we experience that acute stress response. And I watched some interesting behavior over the last few days with someone who just went straight to trigger, straight to shutdown. And the sad thing was, what I saw was the way that the situation was handled is not going to serve that person in the future moving forward. There were things said, actions done that didn't take into account any of the relationships, the history, the reasonableness of people involved. It was a sheer fear, panic, shut down, and it actually wound up disempowering the person who moved for a power play of control to shoot back. Actually was coming from a place of disempowerment. Sometimes when we are seeking the most control in the shortest amount of time, it's actually because we feel out of control. We feel so vulnerable. We feel disempowered. And so sometimes our big power play moves when we just have to fix it right away and we just really want it to be better and we really want to send our message out and deal with it and make somebody stop or go up and confront somebody or go to a family member and let them have it, or say our piece is actually comes from a lot of disempowerment. What if our most powerful control responses actually are tells about how much we're scared inside? I think that's true, and I watched that and I thought about it, and I watched how it infected situations that I relate with, and afterwards, I had to think, wow, instead of feeling like this person was maybe threatening or scary or had some kind of weight in their life, I think anybody who observed it could really see that actually they're the one who's scared. They're the one who's operating at a deficit. So what about you? What about you when you get highly triggered? If you move immediately to your power play control, you're actually moving out of a place of disempowerment. Now, there is a moment where you set your boundaries. Like if somebody really comes against you and really hurts you, you may need to have that slap back ready. That acute stress response is important. Fear is important when you're in the parking lot late at night and the guy's behind you, the stalker. A response of "you can't do that to me" is important to have up your sleeve. But for most of us, when we're dealing with anxiety, we can very often do that from an ill-informed place where we're not seeing all of the other resources, all of the relationship things that bring context to what just shut us down. And so what I was saying was that our hot tip is as I've been talking to you, when you have a shutdown, it's important not to run away from it into your control response. When you have a fear shutdown, if you can take a deep breath and stay in the feeling, even for a few minutes, be still and know that I am God. Go into that still life talking moment where in your still life, you're letting the thing come up. The trigger, go ahead, say what it's going to say, get it out, and bring that to God. And let that still life talk to you. Let that relationship develop where you're actually going, what I'm feeling is a great sense of threat and disempowerment. And this is something I don't want to deal with. Deep breath, because that's where God is, right there. That's where He wants to be with me. And then we continue to do these moments where we learn to bring Him right into the center of our deepest discomfort instead of run from it or pray it away, right? Meaning, just make me better, just make me feel better, I just want to feel better. Those just make it better things tend to be those dramatic control responses. Those tend to be, I think, the medication responses, the things that we try to do that actually come from disempowerment. And it's important in that moment when you feel the thing that is the thing, and it's taking away your context. Everything else everything else that could mitigate it, all the other times God's been there for you, all the resources you have, it's really important to do a couple of things. One is to stop, and as I've just described, and invite God into it. And another one is to practice peace. And this is a skill. This is a skill, a life skill. Fear-free living is a life skill that must be taught and practiced and transferred to others. And I've talked about this before. I don't think any of my kids have the knee-jerk reaction to conflict that I've had my entire life, because they have seen their parents learn how to do conflict. Whether we like it or not, whether they know to the degree to which I feel uncomfortable in conflict, it doesn't matter, because they're seeing us move out of practicing peace, practicing order. I, on the other hand, watched family members behave in a way that said that conflict could kill you. So you want to be scared of it, right? So fear-free living is something that is learned, it's a life skill, and it's taught and it's transferred to those around us. And peace living is not about peace making, peacekeeping. Practicing peace is the place where we're going to ask God, we're going to create a landing place for the reality of his supernatural peace. Right? John Paul Jackson said peace is a substance. And just like the Bible says, faith is a substance. It's a spiritual substance. Love is a substance. All the things in the kingdom of heaven are actually more real than we are here. So love has a substance to it, is substantive. Faith is the substance of things hoped for. Peace is a substance. It's a thing. But very often we just want to jump to somebody just splashing it on us. We just want the feelings to go to better. I just want everyone to pray that I'll feel better, that you can just give me your splash of peace and it's going to resolve my whole thing. But guys, have you ever tried hard to pour the substance of love and relationship into someone who had no capacity for it? I have. And you may have worked really hard even to take a person who's been traumatized and release relationship and friendship, and they may just pull back, and every opportunity they get, they're self-sabotage. Well, we self-sabotage related to peace by not creating a place for it to land. And just to give you another example of what I'm talking about, there was one time when I used to live in Toronto, and there was a guy on the street who was wintertime. He had no socks, no shoes, and not much of a coat on. So I ran to the store. I bought the guy socks. I bought him shoes. I bought him coat. I outfitted him. He was set. And the next day I walked past, and the socks and the shoes and the coat were gone. He had no capacity to receive the substance of what was available to him and had been given to him. So we've got to create a landing place for peace, and that is in our brains, in our souls. It starts first by inviting God into the deepest anxiety and experiencing healing. But the next thing is to say, hey, Mary Grace, the next thing is to practice the process of developing a place for peace to land. Again, if we're just begging God to make our feelings better, and somebody just to sprinkle fairy dust peace over us, reality that we have to partner with God and learn the skill of bringing order words. So we learn to order to our mind, and you're stressing out, and the things are rising in you. You go, wait a minute, I have to partner with